Well, for all the reasons that you can imagine. Knowing yourself is the best way to be able to reach your highest altitude. So thank you, Coach Genevieve, for joining us.
Thank you, Angela.
How, how are you doing, girl?
I'm doing good.
That's
Very
good.
excited
So
about
the,
this series too.
yes, yes. So the title today is called How the Disc Supports the Disc Method, the Maxwell Disc Method
Yeah.
supports your peak altitude. Did I say that right, Coach Genevieve?
Yes, very well.
How the Maxwell Disc Method supports your peak altitude. The reason I said I refer to her is because she's certified in the Maxwell Disc Method. She is the pro among us tonight. So she will be digging in. I'll be referring to her a lot because she has this certification. Um, so once again, the series that we are starting is called Know You to Grow You. And tonight's focus is how this method supports your altitude. So with that being said, let me just remind you that the eSpeak platform, our focus is to help you heal, aspire, and grow.
Oh,
And that is the bedrock of our platform. We're your
yeah.
biggest cheerleaders. And from that perspective, I'm inviting you to join into this conversation, make it lively, robust, interactive, ask your questions, interrupt. Did I say that right? Yeah, interrupt. Um, but one of the things I want to start off with a quote tonight because it's such it's a pretty good quote. It says, "You cannot overcome challenges by making them smaller, but by making yourself
Mm,
bigger." I got
mm.
that quote from Coach Genevieve. Go ahead, Genevieve. Tell us about what that quote means to you.
Yes, we cannot overcome. Actually, we don't overcome challenges by making them smaller, but by making ourselves bigger. I think that it's one of the USA president that say that we cannot control the outside circumstances, but we can control our responses to these circumstances. I don't remember the name, but I know that it's one of the former president of the USA. So this is to say how it is important to make ourselves bigger, make ourselves above situation and challenges we can encounter. So I think that tonight we're going to talk about how we can make ourselves bigger than the challenges
Mm.
we encounter. Yeah.
And that what ties in really well with that is that this idea that we have to learn to go over our challenges, climb
Exactly.
over them, as opposed to
Yeah.
being sucked into them. And it sounds so easy to say those things, right? When you're not going through anything. Of course, it sounds,
Exactly.
oh, that's what you got to do. But we
Yeah.
all know when the rubber hits the road, I mean, this stuff is life can be hard. Life can just
Yeah.
be downright
Yeah.
wicked, right?
It
Cruel.
sounds easy.
So we're
Yeah.
not saying this lightly at all. I do want to say to my production person, Jay, thank you so much for all you do to support us. Because I'm on my phone, I can't see who was actually joined, so I don't know how we're gonna work with that tonight because I can't respond to anyone because I'm on my phone. Do you have a way to address that? I don't know. Maybe you can send me a chat message or something. But let
Oh,
me just continue with the
good
fact that we
point.
have to learn to climb over. But the thing about that, in order for us to be able to do that, is for us to grow in our awareness, of course. And this word awareness is thrown around so much, but sometimes I don't think we really know what it means. Actually, it's not until recently that I actually went and looked up the meaning. I have an idea of what it means. You know, the implications are pretty clear, but the actual meaning is that it's the ability as human beings that we have, and only humans possess this ability to be able
Mhm,
to step away from our thoughts and
mhm,
observe them, be an observer of your own thoughts. It's this idea of the metacognition, being able
mhm,
to think about what you think about.
mhm.
That is what awareness is. And so it's
Exactly.
so difficult to be able to grow you if you don't know you. And the way to know
True.
you is to grow in your awareness, which is to be able to
Exactly.
think about what you think about. It all ties into each other, doesn't it, Coach Genevieve?
Yes, yeah. When we talk about behavioral style and growth, I mean that the first person you have to examine is yourself, because someone say that knowing others is intelligence, but knowing yourself is enlightenment. And
Wow.
when you are enlightened, sure, you won't work in darkness. So self-awareness is and this is the principle of the third graph in
Hmm.
the disc assessment that we call the mirror, the effect of the mirror, to see
Right.
yourself as you really are.
Mm. Let me repeat that quote. To know yourself, to know
Is
others, rather,
knowing
is
others,
intelligence.
yes,
Is that it?
but
But to know
exactly
yourself is
is
enlightenment.
enlightenment. Exactly.
I love that because
Mm,
that means we won't walk in the darkness. No groping in the darkness, trying to figure out how do I get there and what's the route to get there. But to know exactly where you are and being able to step away and observe yourself in any situation. And to facilitate this awareness, we looked up the scripture. And Genevieve, I think I'm gonna have you talk about this story, but it's the story of the Canaanite woman. You want to read it a little bit, or do you want me to find it and read it for the audience, or is it too much to read? I can't hear you. You're mute, Genevieve.
Oh, okay. Please read it because I try
So it's
to connect.
Matthew 15,
Uh,
verse. I'm gonna go there. Matthew 15, verse 21 to 28. Let's go to Bible Gateway.
mhm,
Mm, This is really a testimony of what awareness looks like on a person. A
mhm,
person who saw the need to grow, who wanted to know themselves,
mhm.
and took this opportunity to grow. But she first
Exactly.
was aware. Matthew 15, verse 21, we're going to read about the Canaanite woman.
Mhm,
Um, and Jesus went out thence. This is some old English here, but let's roll with it. And Jesus went out thence and withdrew into the parts of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a Canaanite woman came from those borders and cried,
mhm.
saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed. I haven't heard that word in so long. My daughter is grievously vexed with a demon. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I was not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But
Mhm,
she came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me.
mhm,
And he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs.
mhm,
But she said, yea, Lord, for even the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it done
yeah.
unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was healed from that hour. Let me just say what I love about this scripture right here. It's all about the woman. And this is
Mhm,
CDC. We are representing, speaking up for, and we are the voice of women. Welcome,
mhm.
Deborah and Patricia. Welcome to the conversation. Please ask your questions. Jay, please send your questions if you see people asking questions, because like I said, I won't be able to see it as easily. But essentially, Jesus
Mhm.
is focused on this Canaanite woman. So, Coach Genevieve, I want you to break down this scripture for me, because for the longest time, I struggled with this whole thing about the dogs and the crumbs and the this and the that. What do you get from this scripture? Tell me how this ties into our conversation of tonight about being aware, because that's the whole
Being
point. This
aware.
woman was aware that she needed help, and sometimes Awareness,
Exactly.
we don't get the help we need because we're not aware that we need the help. She
Exactly.
didn't have this problem, right?
Exactly. So in the when we stay in our when in our topic of today, um, John Maxwell say that knowing yourself makes you grow yourself. You cannot grow yourself if you don't know yourself. So the story of
Mm,
this Canaanite woman shows that she knows herself. She didn't come to Jesus just like this. She knew that Jesus was someone special. And she knows
mm-hmm,
that she belongs to a community that was, very separate from the Jews at this time.
mm-hmm,
And she had a problem. And she knew that Jesus was the one who was able to solve this problem. But she couldn't come like a Jewish woman and say, "Oh, Lord, can you please heal my daughter?" She was
mm-hmm,
prepared, aware of who she was when she
mm-hmm,
came to meet Jesus. That's why
mm,
she was not, disturbed by the answer and the attitude of Jesus.
mm. Wait a minute. Are
Actually,
you saying Jesus had an attitude? Are you trying to say Jesus had an attitude?
I mean,
Wait a minute.
I mean, I mean,
Okay.
he talks in parables, and actually,
Okay.
maybe even the Jew couldn't understand this parable at that time, because some
Uh-huh.
people, when they hear that this part of the gospel, they was like, "Wow, Jesus was harsh with that woman," you know.
Mm-hmm.
But she understood it well because she understood that according to the Jewish law and tradition, I was
Uh-huh.
considered just like, I could be considered like a dog because I
Mm.
have gods. I don't follow their rules. I live just, like I want in my pagan community. But she was ready that she was aware that this is was, if we can say it, her weakness in brackets in front of Jesus. So being
Right.
aware of who she was make her gives her the possibility to accept the
Mm-hmm.
answer of Jesus and to go beyond this answer and to impress Jesus. It was
Mm-hmm.
like Jesus was like, "Wow, lady, you know who you are. You accept your identity, and by
Mm-hmm.
knowing who you are, enable you to know who I am." And this is
Right.
very deep. You know, there is humility inside. Knowing yourself,
Mm.
humility. Someone say that when you know yourself, then you can be able to understand others. Many people
Right.
doesn't understand others because at the basis they don't know themselves.
Wow, that's powerful. So this woman was willing to look back, to even take the crumbs,
Yeah.
metaphorically speaking, from the table, the crumbs that belonged to the dog, just so that she could get the help she needed. Is that the
Yeah.
idea? That's the main gist, right?
Yes, because she knew
Mm,
she was aware that Jesus came first for the Jewish. He was in the Jewish community. And she was
right.
like, "Yes, this blessing are for the Jewish. I don't belong to this community. I am a Canaanite."
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
She's a
But
Canaanite.
exact. But I need this healing from this man. So I
Mm,
won't go there, trying to fake the things. I will just accept that I am who I am and I know my limits. I know my weakness. And this is what I'm ready to do, is to take the crumbs coming from your table,
wow.
and this was impressive. This was impressive, really.
Jesus was quite impressed with it. I mean, when you get to the point where you can impress Jesus, I mean, that's huge. No
Yeah,
wonder she has a place in the
yeah.
Bible. She's been,
We have this blessing as women. Many women has impressed Jesus by their faith. By the way.
that's true. You're right about that.
Yeah,
Welcome to Eve. Peace, everybody, and welcome to Eve. And when people talk about Eve, they like to talk about how she was the one that's responsible for the sins of the world and all this other stuff. But let me tell you, we also the one that impressed Jesus the most. Is that what you're trying to say?
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow, I never thought about it like that before. I'll be an Eve all day long then. So we see the awareness of this woman, but
Mhm,
then we also going to look at someone who had a strength that was, she had a weakness, and but the strength was her strength was her humility, which gave her the awareness, so she could get the help that she needs. So if you were to like look at the whole program that we're talking about tonight, how this method is going to support us in our altitude, that's how it ties in with the scripture, because we're trying to use the scripture and the method for thinking well, tied together, stretch our thoughts so we can get more of the gems out of
mhm,
the scripture and out of the different things that we're going to talk about tonight, which
mhm.
includes this method. So now let's talk about another woman who is close to your heart, Genevieve. Talk about that woman who is aware, even though she had some weaknesses, but she's operating in her
Yeah.
awareness. Go ahead, tell me about her,
So
Mrs.
I would love to have her picture, but maybe we will meet her in on Ivy Speak platform next time with the photo or on the social media. But this lady is my very niece. Her name is Desiree.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we, it is a French name. Desiree means in French desire, desired. So
Okay.
and Desiree is paralyzed for more than 40 years.
Wow.
And she this occurs after a medical error when she was 4 or 5 years. And you can imagine how it can
Mm,
be difficult for her because she is mentally and intellectually very well, but she lived and saw her body decline
mm,
year after year, while she
wow.
had a very big potential. She graduated from high school, she graduated from college, and actually, she speaks English, but she lose all the function of her body except light. She can barely use now her hand, just like to do like this.
Wow.
So she no longer talks, she no longer work and use, so people take care of her for that long time. When she is a
Mm,
very smart woman, okay? But Desiree has been uh, raised not
mm-hmm.
on focusing on her handicap, but on her potential.
Mm,
This help her, this helps her see all along this big challenge and suffering. Uh, that's give her to be aware of her potential.
right.
And even though the challenge have, her whole life she lives like this, but
Mm-hmm.
we never lived with her just like she was handicapped. We used to go in nightclub with her, at the beach, at the, pool, and everywhere we used to go. So she
Mm-hmm.
grew up like this, aware of her strength instead of only seeing her weakness and her handicap. And this has
Right.
led her to publish, and the um, publication ceremony is for the next Saturday, her second poems uh, collection, her second
Wow.
poems collection. And it will be actually a very big event in Senegal because even the minister of the education will be there, and many
Mm-hmm.
people of the big society of literature and all this stuff because it's a big achievement for her. That's the second time she published poems, but this time it's a collection and it is more important. So being aware
That
of
is,
her strengths helps her,
mhm.
develop her potential instead of being a victim of her circumstance. Actually,
Wow.
this is
So let's
another
listen to this,
way.
listen to this woman, this your niece, Desiree.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
was she became paralyzed since she was 4 or 5 years
4 or 5
old.
years. Yeah.
4 or 5 years old from them. She was born healthy, but there was a
Healthy.
medical error
Exactly.
that caused her body to decline year after year.
Year after year.
And her mind works perfectly fine,
Perfectly
but
fine.
everything else doesn't work. Is that it?
Everything else declined exactly year after year. And that was the
Wow.
challenge because she was aware, and she only had these memories of the time that she could do things by herself. And you know, so awareness is
Mm,
uh is a power, but
right.
it's the power that can uplift you or just break you down, actually.
Mm. So I think that she must have been able to step away from her situation, look at herself being disabled, but harness the power of her mind to be able
Exactly.
to publish books.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'll be that strong. I'd probably be depressed if I made it to 40 years. But she has managed to garner the eyes of politicians so that she's gonna have
Hmm.
something published. That is so remarkable. Like
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
what awareness can do for us if we
Hmm.
harness it. Oh my gosh. It makes me feel like I have nothing to complain about. I have no excuses. Like, get over yourself, whatever issues you're having right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't it make you feel
This
like
is
that?
Yeah,
This
she's
is
an
amazing.
example of courage.
Awareness really is the difference maker. And that's
Hmm.
why it's so key for us to understand that when we're able to stand back and think about what we're thinking about, then we can guide and lead our thoughts as opposed to our thoughts leading us. I'm still growing in this area. It is not an easy thing, discipline to develop. But once you get yourself going, it can make a world of difference. Somebody has a question, I think. Yeah, somebody has a question. Oh, somebody said yes. An anonymous attendee. Yes. Okay, they're just making a comment.
Yeah.
Indeed, remember, ask your questions. Um, so I am so glad that you shared that story because it's such an example of someone who has recognized that their awareness is a game
Hmm.
changer, and
Exactly.
that's huge. And from that perspective, we're gonna, you know, try to make a little turn right now and talk about the DISC method, which is why we came here tonight. The Maxwell DISC method that helps us to be aware of our personality and how
Yeah.
our personality can affect our communication. But
Hmm.
before we go deep into that part of it, we're going to make sure we talk about the four different personality types. And today we're only going to focus in on one of the four. The personality types are the dominant, the influencer, the steady, and the
Hmm.
compliant. Did I say that
Is it?
right, Coach Genevieve? Because you're the
Yes.
certified.
Is it? You said it just right.
Okay. Dominant, influencer, steady, and compliant. And today we're going
Compliant.
to focus in on the
Today,
dominant style.
the
Yes?
dominant style. Exactly.
Tell us what the dominant style is, Coach Genevieve.
So the dominant style is the first style of the acronym DISC, and it is
Mhm.
people who can be described as drivers. So they are dominant, just like the name describe it. And their general characteristic is that they are decisive people. They are high ego strength and they are problem solver. They
They're
are risk,
decisive. Want me to say that one more time? They're decisive. They're what? Problem solvers.
this,
And what else?
yes, problem solver, risk taker, and they are
Risk
self
takers.
starter. They are very independent people. Risk
These are
taker,
very
yeah,
positive things, right? Problem solver, risk takers, what? Decisive. What
exactly.
else?
They are task oriented,
Task
very
oriented.
task oriented, yes. They
I mean,
like
this
fight.
sounds like the kind of personality we want, right? At least.
Yes, but as we said, there is no good or bad personality because each personality has a potential and are made for um, uh, a time or a purpose and, you know, something which
Mhm.
is different from other one. Just like, the man said to Esther, you have been maybe you have been prepared for a time, for such a time. So we need dominant people in some situation, while maybe in some other they are not at all the right fit. Okay,
Mm.
yeah, it's just
So God created all our personalities to suit whatever role or assignment He has given us for this life. So there's no bad personality per se.
exactly, there is no bad
However,
person.
there's some personalities that I really don't like.
Yes, what brings that is maybe we're gonna see it in another webinar, is the blended style, because nobody is just one trait. You will
Right,
not
right.
find someone who is 100% D. Okay, if it
Mhm.
is the case, it may be maybe even a mental issue that we will have there. But everybody
Right.
has, a blended personality. Actually, we all have the four trait, but some traits are above the midline, are very dominant, while the other one may be lower. And so
Okay,
to
we have a question here. Deborah says condescending people at times, how they speak. What are you referring to, Deborah? Are you saying dominant people tend to be condescending in the way
uh
they speak? Is that what you're
it's
trying to say, Debbie? I'm trying to figure
it's
out what
de-
she's trying to say.
it's it's depend on the, if I can say it, the intensity of
Mm-hmm.
this trait. You have in the disc graph, you have on the graph a middle line.
Uh-huh.
So some traits are plotted just above the middle line, some other above. But
Mm-hmm.
when the trait is plotted very high in the graph, then you can have what we can say the high intensity of the D. I think that
Mm.
we can maybe just share the screen of the page
Because
13. I
exactly that's what she's saying. She's saying the dominant personality can be very condescending. But
Yeah,
Coach Genevieve just addressed that. If it's too high, that's when it becomes a problem. Yes?
that's when it's become a problem. Yep, exactly.
Mm.
That's
Okay.
this is what we can call their possible weakness or their improvement area, because they can overstep authority and be condescending.
So what I'm getting so far is that there are no bad personalities. However,
Mm,
in the wrong environment or the wrong mixture, it can be
mhm,
a problem. But all the
exactly.
personalities were created by God. We just have to know ourselves and have the awareness of ourselves to know what personality will
Mhm,
enhance us and help us to be the best version of ourselves as opposed to bring out the
exactly.
animal in us. There's some personalities that brings out the animal in me. So I
Yeah.
have to be aware of this personality I cannot deal with. I gotta stay
Mhm.
away because you know what I mean? So I think that's what Debbie's trying to trying to
Yes,
articulate.
exactly. When you are aware of your strength, you know how to use them, where to use them, with who to use it. And the beauty of the disc is that the disc um, helps you understand your personality. But while you understand your personality, the disc um, uh, coach you and helps you also discover the other personalities and how they behave in this situation, and what are their values, what the things that resonate the most to them. And then you will be helped in the way
Right.
that you will see now how you have to communicate with this type of personality and this other type of personality. When you are
So
a
from
deep
that,
personality, for example, you are a driven person, a very
hmm
someone who is who just look for facts. They don't like details. Okay, they are very authoritative, and this is good in some situation when you are a leader. Well, and they are decisive. They are people who are not afraid of making decision. This is very important.
yes.
Yeah.
So not only will this personality assessment test help you to know your own personality, is what I'm hearing you
Mhm.
saying. It
Exactly.
helps you to know other people's personality, so you can identify them right away. So that there goes your awareness up again. You're not just aware of yourself, but you're aware of
Exactly.
other people
Other
and
people.
how to dance so that you
Exact.
have a more effective communication. Tonight we are focusing on the communication specifically. There are
Exact.
different areas that we're going to focus on. Today's communication. Next week we may focus on your relationships at work,
Mhm.
or at home, or with your significant other. And we're going to
Yeah.
talk about how and just the way you behave in these different arenas. Today
Exactly.
is communication. So
Communication. Yeah.
if I know how because I'm a mixture of two communication. I took the test. By the way, Jay, please put the link on the screen so that people can know that they can sign up for a consultation so that they can take the assessment so that they
Yeah.
can learn themselves.
Exactly.
Again, the awareness is what makes the difference about how
Mm,
whether or not we reach our altitude. There's the link right there. Sign up and you'll have your personalized consultation with Coach Genevieve. So, from a communications perspective, we're going to
mhm,
focus right now on one of the things that we can focus on is the words that we use, right? How the
mhm,
dominant style is affected by words, or how the dominant personality use words. Uh,
mhm.
Deborah, Deborah already referred to it, how they can be condescending, but we learned that it's only if it's too much, but they're not necessarily condescending, but it's something that they want to be aware of, and they may have room for improvement in that area. What
Exactly.
other what other ways do can words be an issue with the dominant style, Coach Genevieve?
Well, for example, according to the personality, when we comes to the point, to the topic of communication, communication is the word, the words you say, the tone, the body language and all this stuff. But for sure, the word, what you say, has the most important place on in when you communicate. So some
Mm-hmm.
words resonate better with some people than to others. And
Mm-hmm.
if tonight, for example, we take we are trying to dive in the deep personality, which are the dominant, the driver, okay? And they are the bottom line organizer in the team, and they're like challenges and very innovative person. Remember that they are decisive, they are a problem solver, risk taker, and they are self-starter. They are very independent people, okay?
Uh-huh.
So when you talk with this kind of personality, you better avoid words like maybe, probably, or perhaps. I think it's pretty good.
I'm not
I'll try.
sure.
I'm
Let me
not
think
sure.
about it.
Yeah, they hate, I will try. They hate, I'm not sure.
Oh.
Or sometimes when you talk with a deep personality with this kind of word, actually, they will never take you seriously. And
Mm.
or in their eyes, in their way of understanding, they will say, okay, you're not the right fit because they are problem solver. You cannot talk with a problem solver and say, I think probably. They like facts.
Right, right, right. So
Okay.
they may come across very dismissive then, and that could be another reason why you get irritated by your body language. Uh, per-
Exactly. So they they are, they are risk takers. So you cannot talk with the risk taker and say, maybe we gonna, no, they will never make the things with you. Okay. But you can attract them when you talk and use the bottom line. Okay. Come to the bottom line, give them facts.
Mhm.
Okay. Talk
What are we
about
doing? Where are
results.
we going? How are we going to
Exact
get it accomplished? When are we getting
result.
there?
Exactly.
Yes,
Result,
results.
exact goal, accomplish, and show confidence. You have actually to show your dominant personality if you really want to attract them. Let's say that you are um, the salesperson, and you have in front of you a dominant personality, and he asks you about, um, even in their way of asking and talking, it's different from the other personality. A D personality will ask you, what will I have with this product directly? It would not have, when it is started, do you think that? No, they will go straight to the point. So when you
Mm,
are in front of someone like this, don't start by saying that, well, I don't know, but no, just go to the point and tell them this is the product you need.
right. And this way you won't irritate them.
If you don't have this one, you won't make it. You have to be, you have to take risk and be dominant, strong, just like them, and be success oriented. This is
Mm.
how you
So
can
tell me,
attract
what
a
are
deep
some areas
personality.
for? I am a steady D. I'm a steady, and I'm a mixture of dominant and steady. What does that
Mhm,
mean for me specifically? Because that's my when I took the test, that was
mhm.
my result. What does that mean for me in terms of communication?
In terms of communication, it's very important because most of the time in the disc, you will see blended personality. So
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about the blended personality, we have the three graph. And in
Mm-hmm.
this three graph, we have the third graph, which is very important, which is the mirror, how you perceive yourself. So if your perception of yourself is distorted, you know how you will, all the influencing endeavor that you will try to have with people will fail, because at the bottom line, there's something you don't know about yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you want to understand the blend personality, you need to see their graph. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't, yes, share the on the screen the graph. And that's mean that if you have your graph in front of you, you can maybe tell us where um, your trait have been plotted. Are you a high
Uh,
S or a high D? Because we all
oh,
have a dominant trait. I am a high C. I have three
yeah.
traits, C, I, and D. But my dominant trait is C. That's why I like disc.
Oh, I don't have my graph. I have a report here that I'm still reading that I'm not done yet
Yeah.
after I took the assessment. So no,
Okay.
I don't know exactly, you know, how high my point is in terms of my dominance, but I do know I'm a blended personality type. But what I do know is that I some of the things that you talked about because I run a
Mm-hmm,
business and I'm
mm-hmm,
very much get to the point. Don't waste my
mm-hmm,
time.
mm-hmm.
Get off the phone. Why are you calling? It's bad.
Okay. I see. So you maybe you have a high D
Uh-huh.
personality, okay, and a S personality too. So um, when we talk with a D, I just say just the word that they are attracted to and the word that you have to avoid. But that's mean that the environment and the circumstances also are important.
Mm,
This is the purpose of the three graph. Let's say that
mm,
you are a D and a S, but
uh-huh.
in your graph, you may be a high D. When you are under pressure, what we call the core or the private self, which is the
Mm-hmm.
real you, okay? When you will be in some situation, your real personality will go over the midline.
Okay.
That's mean that when you are under pressure, when you are in your natural style, where when you
So
are in
you're
a
saying that each of these personality types have three different ways of portraying themselves. One is the private
exactly
self, the
the
public
public
self,
self, yes, and the mirror.
and the mirror. Can you explain the public self versus the private self versus the mirror? Please explain. Because you're saying each personality type have a way of portraying themselves depending on the environment. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly, yes. In depending on the environment and the circumstances, there are, or the challenge maybe this. That's why disc the disc result can change because you can take the DISC result in 2023 and work on
Mhm.
yourself. And if your circumstances change, you can take the DISC assessment a year later and see how your behavior has progressed. So the three
Which
graph
brings
we
us back
have
to the
in the
fact that we are here to heal, aspire, and grow. So you're saying that if you're in one area this year and it's a weakness or you need improvement, you
exactly.
can work on it, take it next year, and be improved.
Yeah,
That's really perfect for the message that we're trying to drive home about
sure.
growing you so you can grow.
Yeah.
So carry on and tell us about the public and the private and the mirror.
Okay, so the public self is what we call the mask, just like the word say, the mask. That's mean that how you think that what you think that people expect from you.
Mm,
Say that uh I'm like, okay, I'm a Christian, okay, I'm a woman, and in my workplace, uh, I believe that this is what people expect me to be. They expect from me to be a kind woman. So in this graph, you may have a personality display and some behavior that will
mm-hmm,
depend on what you think people expect from you, and this is how you behave in public.
mm,
That's why we
right.
call it the mask. Okay. So
That is not
you
the real
can,
you.
yes, that's the adapted you. we can call it the adapted style too. Some
Okay.
other this could call it like this. So it's the adapted you, how you behave outside in public because you expect that this is what people. And then we have the private, the private, the private, the
The
private
private
self
self.
or the core. This is the real you, how you behave and react to things when you are in private or under pressure. Generally when people are under pressure, you see their real personality. Okay.
Mm,
And this is where we see uh, your your real personality type. Your and in my graph, the second graph, I am very high C. That's mean that in my natural style, this is what we call also natural style, or in my private self, or in my core, I am a
you're
C person.
compliant?
I'm a compliant.
Really?
So, yeah, compliant
I
is,
think you're rebellious.
yeah, but I have a D. I have also a D trait, not that
Okay.
low. Yeah. So, this is how I react. I'm very casual. I'm someone who like organization, having details.
Mm,
I'm the kind of person, for example, I can come in my kitchen and turn all the cup like this because I want them to be in the same.
oh
This
my
is
gosh.
yeah, this is what the C personality. This is how they act. I don't like to see, for example, in my library, a book, a big one, you know, just next to a small one. They have to be in an order, like I see a kind of harmony. If
You sound like
not,
you got OCD. I'm sorry. It sounds like OCD to me.
if not, I'm a kind of, disturbed. So this is my private self. This is the real me. And I have the perceived self, which called the mirror,
Mm,
what I think of myself. So when you see the two graphs um, basically align, that means that there we are in a kind of awareness, because my two graphs are typically the same in the private and in the perceived one. That's mean that I know that I'm like this, and I
mm.
and I behave very aware of my type of personality. Let's say I assume it, but you can see some graph very different,
Mm,
very, very different, because the last one is how you perceive yourself. So this last graph is very important. This is where you
Right.
can detect the distortion.
Wow.
Yeah,
When you can detect your own distortion, that's
yeah,
huge, right? Because I
exactly.
think that's what happened with this Canaanite woman. She
Hmm.
recognized that she had a problem, and
Hmm.
she went to get the help because she was aware. And
Yep.
this is what it's all about. And I think Deborah is having a moment right now. She put in the chat that she's facing this right now because she has to stay away from somebody at her job,
Hmm.
at her new job. But I think this information that we are communicating is helping her to realize that she has to become more aware about her particular personality style and how it relates to other people's personality style. And
Oh,
it's not
yeah,
always that we need to stay away from the person. Sometimes we just need to learn how to deal with the person, right? Because
exactly.
sometimes those people have gifts that you need. Those people that turn you off, they have a
Hmm.
gift or a talent that you could learn from, but you
Yeah,
first have to learn how to deal with them effectively.
exactly.
And
The
that will
the
then
this
lead to my own
Yeah.
growth.
Yep. It's a powerful tool to do a lot of things, just like in conflict, for example. That's why at the beginning it's a tool that only the corporate and the companies, the professional used. But now
Right.
many counselors use it for families and even for teenager and children.
Mm.
What if you could understand your teenager? I'm sure that this will be very attractive for so many parents. And
Oh, I
maybe we
feel it on
may
my
have a
son.
special session for that. Understanding teenagers, it's challenging. And this can
Yeah.
actually help you. After my
Wow.
certification, I just get the personality of my two teenagers, and I knew how
Wow.
I had to, uh, I had to communicate, and I knew what I could start it with my daughter or my son, and I know what I can talk about with this and other one, and it was really life changing. The disc is a
And
very, very
communication
powerful
and
tool.
communication is such a big deal in relationships because we don't
Exactly.
communicate well. I mean, there's so many broken relationships, and a lot of it has
Mhm.
to start with our communication. And for
Yeah.
myself, I mean, I'm learning a lot about communication, not just to listen to the words that people are saying, but also to
Mhm.
listen to the emotion below the words, because that's where the real thing is going on. And to be able to listen empathically, I'm learning about that as well.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
does that mean? It means listen to the feeling below the word. I mean, communication, we think it's just talking and listening or hearing, but
Mhm.
there's a way to listen, and nobody's ever taught us how to listen.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever taught you how to listen? They teach us how to read, they teach us how to write, they teach us how to talk, but nobody teaches us how to listen in school. Like
Yeah.
I went through all those years of school, there was not one subject about how to listen.
Listening.
And
Yeah.
yet,
All right.
it is such an important part of having meaningful relationships. And there
Exactly.
is a technique and a method and a
Hmm.
framework for listening, not just saying you hear the person, but to
Yeah.
really be able to listen empathically. It's a
Listen. Yeah.
huge awareness that I got recently that I'm like trying to put into practice in my own life as we speak in my relationship.
Yeah.
So this whole thing about being aware.
Mm.
But you also shared something else with me earlier about just how the personality type is affected by our genes, our genetics,
Hmm.
our environment, and our education.
Yeah.
Now, I thought if you're born with a personality, you're born with a personality. You have, I mean, the genes I understand, but the environment affects your personality. Well, it
Yeah.
helps to shape it, is what you're saying. It helps to shape it.
Yes. Yeah. It is shaped because um, remember that we say that the disc, your result can change.
Right.
Your result can change, and this is affected by, the environment, and it can be also affected by your circumstances.
Mm,
Do you remember Paul? How Paul was in the gospel? Paul's personality have been used to to talk to the Gentile, not only because he was born a Jewish, but because he was raised as uh, a Pharisee, and also
Hmm.
because of his environment.
And he was educated. Yeah, all shaped. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So this has shaped his personality.
Mm.
Yeah,
But the
for the
point
better.
here is that you have to know you to grow you. And again, we want to invite
Definitely.
you to schedule your consultation so that we can get you on the path to taking this assessment to assess your own personality. And aren't you curious to know what your personality type is, like the official
Mhm.
scientific uh, results of your personality? I think it's a wonderful thing to learn about yourself. This idea of growing in your awareness. This is what this assessment will help you to do. And there's another quote that I heard today that was really good. It says, "The secret of change is to focus all of our energy not on fighting the old, but building the new." You know, people you're no longer
Oh,
building the new. And I think that it's such a powerful quote because a lot of times I want to, even today, I was focused on all the things in the past. But when I saw
uh-huh.
this quote, I was like, I need to focus on building the new,
Building the
moving
new.
forward.
Yep. Yep.
Stop focusing so much on all the things that happened back there that I can't do anything about anyway.
Mm.
Um, so the encouragement to you tonight is to consider uh, taking the test. Remember that the platform here is your biggest cheerleader to help you to heal, aspire, and grow. Remember that you have to know you to grow you, and that awareness is being able to step away from yourself, your own thoughts, and observe them like you are, like an observer. Step away and observe yourself like in a room in the corner and you're looking at yourself. That's how that's what it means to have awareness, be able to separate yourself from your own thoughts. We're the
Mhm.
only human beings that can do it, so might as well take advantage of it. We're the only species that can do it, that can think about what we're thinking about. All the other species, animals, they're programmed and they have to operate according to the programming. But we can actually change our programming. You see that? Oh my God, I'm
Yep.
learning so much. I'm so excited. The awareness makes me excited. Yeah, it does. All the awareness
Yeah.
I'm getting from reading books is making me excited. Um, so I want to invite you to come on this growth journey. Come grow with me. Are there any last words or last questions? You can put it in the chat. We're about to wind down. It's 9:54. But again, lean in and remember, for the person who don't know that they don't know won't grow. But the
Mhm.
person who
Whoa.
knows grows and it shows.
Yeah.
Yay. Mapped it out perfectly. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And please have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Coach Genevieve. Thank you for
Thank you,
Patricia.
Angela.
Thank you, Deborah, for your questions. And remember to sign up and take the test. The eSpeaks platform, your biggest cheerleader to help you to heal, aspire, and grow, and to give birth to the next best version of you. Have a
Yeah.
great one. Bye bye.
Have a great night. Bye bye.